To begin my watercolor quote painting, I'm sketching out a design on a piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to incorporate a coffee cup sitting on a saucer in this painting. I'm trying to draw as light as I can because watercolors tend to be a little bit transparent and I don't want to see pencil showing through in my painting. The next thing I'm going to do is draw out my quote. Good coffee is a pleasure, good friends are a treasure, is my quote. Something I didn't make up on my own. So after I have written out my quote, I'm going to go over my letters with a little bit of masking fluid. So masking fluid is kind of like rubber cement. It will ruin your brush if you don't clean your brush frequently and right after you're done using it. So next to my board here, I have a cup of water, and I'm periodically rinsing out my brush loaded with masking fluid and blotting my brush and then re-dipping it into the masking fluid. And then I'm going to be really sure to clean the brush really good when I'm done with using it. I'll use a little soap and water. I don't want to use a super crummy brush for this because I want to have my letters to look nice. But sometimes it's a good idea to use a brush that's not brand new, that's not your best brush when you're using masking fluid. So it'll dry pretty quick and then you can paint right over it, and anything that you've painted with the fluid will be left unpainted. Using some painter's tape, I've taped my watercolor paper onto a board so that it won't wrinkle. I have a paper towel, I have a piece of saran wrap, I have my colors, and I also have a cup of water ready to go. I am going to mix up my colors first on my palette. It's also a good idea to have your watercolor matrix that you've made in class and your watercolor technique chart in front of you while you're working on this project so that you can remember all the techniques you did and see the colors that you've mixed. So I'm going in for a blue, a little orange, and a little blue, and a little violet for my background. I'm going to go ahead and do the saran wrap technique in the background. And I'm also going to incorporate the bleeding technique in the background. So I'm just getting my colors ready. And now I'm painting some water on my background first. And then I'm just dropping my colors into the water and letting them bleed around. And you can see that anything that's been masked off will stay clean, it won't get painted on. And while it's still wet, I'm putting down my saran wrap and kind of scrunching it a little bit with my fingertips. I'm moving my board around, and you just saw I switched to a smaller brush to get the smaller little areas, and then I'm using a bigger brush to get the big area. So it's also a good idea to have a couple different size brushes next to you ready to go. Next, I have a crayon with me, and I'm going to do the resist technique. So I applied some white Crayola crayon on the inside of my mug, some swirls, And then I'm going over the crayon with some browns and blacks for my coffee. Next, I'm practicing gradation, which is the shift in value from dark to light. And we've practiced this in our technique chart. So I've mixed up a teal, a blue-green color, and I'm applying lots of pigment, and then I'm adding water to that to kind of pull it over. This technique and gradation, as we know, as we've been practicing all year, helps our drawings and paintings appear to be three-dimensional. So practicing that shift in value is something that we've been doing, and again, you're just going to apply the pigment and then pull it over with some water. I'm switching back and forth between my small brush and my little brush depending on what area I'm painting. Again, I'm going to do the same thing, a little bit of gradation for the saucer that my cup is sitting on. So my painting's dried a little bit, some time has gone by, and now I'm just going in with my eraser and I'm getting rid of some more pencil. Now I'm going to go in and paint a little shadow underneath my cup. So all I've done was add a little touch of black to that teal blue-green color that I mixed. And I'm trying to pull it out, continue to practice gradation underneath that cup. Here I'm going to take a break and clean my palette, so I just pop my colors out and take it to the sink and rinse it off. I'm mixing up some yellow and oranges now to paint the surface that the cup is sitting on, and I'm incorporating the salt technique with this section. So I have got a little container of salt sitting next to me, and I'm just pinching a dash of salt onto the paper while the watercolors are still wet. So my watercolor has dried completely, and I have taken off the saran wrap and I've dusted off the salt, and now I'm going over it and rubbing off the masking fluid with my finger and erasing my pencil that's showing through. I could leave it white like this, or I could paint it any color, but I've decided to go in and paint my letters black because I want more of a contrast between the background and the letters. If I had painted my background darker, I could probably leave the letters the white of the paper, but again, I just wanted more of a contrast in my painting. So it's up to you how you want your letters to look on top of your watercolor paper. So this is the last step in the project, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with.